In this module, we are addressing the theme of getting investor interest. And this is also part of the job of a financial advisor to a company. But as we're going to see, this is a little bit different from pure finance. Getting investor interest consists of two perspectives. The first perspective to bear in mind is that private equity investors' operations are capacity-constrained operations. And the second perspective to bear in mind is that getting investor interest is about communication rather than quantity of information. So starting with capacity constraint, a private equity team consists of a limited number of individuals who have a limited number of time in their day. And therefore, when they are assessing a potential investment, they're also looking at how much time they have to spend to establish whether something is a successful investment or not. And anybody who can facilitate reducing such time will have a better chance of attracting their attention. So it's about addressing the capacity constraint of a private equity team. Secondly, communication. It's about communicating to the potential investor a good opportunity. Communicating does not mean that the information in the head of the company or the company's advisor needs to be dumped into the private equity fund manager's head. No, it's about putting yourself in the shoes of the PE fund manager and trying to give them the essential information that they need. So it's about the information they need, not about the information that you have. And that is a very, very important distinction. And then finally, we could say that in order to facilitate this flow of information, it's also important to make sure that this flow is done in an easy, pleasant way, which facilitates more the communication because people are going to be more receptive to something that is pleasant and easy. So this module is about accommodating the PE's limited capacity and communicating effectively. In this model, we therefore have two objectives which correspond to the two principal communication tools that we have in order to bring to the attention to a PE investor our opportunity. And these two tools we have is the investment teaser and the elevator pitch. So firstly, we're going to talk about what are the best practices in creating an investment teaser. And this is going to be done in conforming to the principle that anything we communicate should be pleasing and easy to receive. And so the best practice in creating a teaser is to create a short, balanced document which is not too heavy on unnecessary detail at this stage. So you have to be thinking about the fact how much detail is appropriate to deliver when. And the usual mistake is too much detail too soon. Secondly, the 90-second elevator pitch is going to be the second part of the arsenal of promoting our opportunity. And this is, at its very core, the ability to have a rehearsed speech in one's head, although it must seem not insincere or over-rehearsed, which we can deploy whenever we have an opportunity to contact an investor, because it is possible to arrange meetings with private equity investors, but what is equally important is the opportunistic contacts that can be made at conferences, the Chamber of Commerce meetings, social events, and the like. In this section, we're going to talk about how to create and deploy investment teasers. As we're going to see, an investment teaser is simply a 1, 2 or so page summary of the essential proposition, investment proposition, which will include a description of the company, but that's not all it is. And such an investment teaser should be prepared by the company and their advisor. And this is a very, very important and very good opportunity for an advisor to a company to really add a lot of value, because it's very unlikely the company will be able to create an investment teaser in the right way for a fund manager, summarizing what the deal is, what the advantages are, what the pros and cons are. And this is something essential for an advisor to be able to create. It's germane to the attraction of a potential investor, and it goes side and side with the development of a 90-second elevator pitch. So it's the central responsibility of any advisor to the company to proactively suggest the creation of an investment teaser. Let's start by reviewing what are the essential elements that need to go into the creation of a teaser. And this is important because there are so many mediocre teasers in the market. which do not do justice to the companies they are describing. So the key elements of the teaser is, firstly, it needs to be short. It needs to be 1 to 3 pages maximum. The fund manager has a short attention span. He wants to have the possibility to see very quickly an overview of what is being proposed. So a 15-page teaser with excessive detail is not going to work. It needs to be short, 1 to 3 pages, no more. Secondly, it needs to be friendly to the eye. It should not be full of long sentences and incredible technical details. It should be bullet points, and it should make the maximum possible use of graphics, of course without exaggerating, but it should be friendly to the eye, and it should capture the eye, and when somebody looks at it, it should not be off-putting and too dense. Thirdly, it should contain all the essential information about the company, not just the production and technical, which is the classic mistake made by East Europeans when they create teasers. We reduce the production and technical. What we want to hear about is who are the customers of the company, what are the different segments, and we want to know a bit about the finance of the company, the essential snapshot of the balance sheet and the income statement. Fourthly, it's all very well to know about the company, but as an investor, as a P investor, I want to know what the deal is. What are you proposing? Are you proposing to offer me a minority stake, a majority stake, preferred shares, ordinary shares? Perhaps you don't know, but there should be why are you looking for my investment? Is it to make an acquisition, or is it to finance organic growth? So what is the deal proposition? It's not just about the company, it's about what the deal proposition is. And if that's not clear, that's going to be a big negative for the teaser. And then finally, what are the future prospects for the company? Some kind of forecasts, some kind of statement as to what the company's prospects are is also going to be essential in creating a teaser. So the profile that I've just described of the teaser is actually significantly different from the majority of the teasers you may see in Central and Eastern Europe, which are more production driven, and is one reason there's a lot of scope for improvement. So any advisor to the company who can bring this modern approach to creating teasers will add enormous amount of value as an advisor. The first part of it is collecting data, and this would involve the advisor to the seller, who's responsible for drafting the teaser to collect the data. And the key thing here is being careful not to ask for too much information, preparing a list which is customized and addresses some of the key selling points, as opposed to large generic information requests, much of which would not then be used. The seller also may be unable to involve the whole team in the process, so there's other members of the management, because it's still confidential, and it's important to identify the deal killers right away at this point. This slide shows a list of the typical information requests. As a very minimum, it should contain historic financial information, some outline of a forecast. Even if there isn't a full budget in place, some attempt should be made to look at the forecasts, the basic structure of management, some essential information about the corporate status of the company. In the case of the possibility of having interviews with management to get some context and some feeling, which can be used to make the teaser more effective, some of the topics to be covered could be the history of the company, explanation of the products, some views about the competitor, the trends of the industry, try and assess the management team's abilities and weaknesses, and if there have been any previous negotiations held by the company. This slide contains a list of potential deal killers. So deal killers are problems that are so serious that they would make it very unattractive for any investor to come into the company, because of the uncertainty they would create, plus the potential for large losses. And these would include things like lawsuits, disputes among the shareholders, some irregularity in government permits, any anomalies in reporting. And if there were deals that previously collapsed, it would be require very careful explanations. Buyers will always ask what is the motivation of the seller, so the explanation should be developed and detailed, and this would include things like undercapitalization, requiring capital to grow, and the need to strengthen the management, perhaps a succession issue, or the management desiring to buy out the owner. When preparing a teaser, this is done with a specific objective, which is to present to the investor the essentials of the company, and present some hooks or points of attraction which will make the buyer more potentially interested to dedicate resources. So what is an investor doing? The investor is to try and establish what the opportunity is. So is it attractive? And then determine if it is worth taking a further look. The implication being they would have to invest time. We have to also take into account the limited attention span of the reader. There might be other opportunities competing for their attention. And this is where the design of the teaser is important, but not to be overly slick. There are some typical areas of weakness in teasers which are found again and again. And one is too much information. This will create a saturation and people will not read it. A poor structure, an incomprehensible and user-unfriendly teaser. Again, people will not read it. Incomplete financials, which will create a loss of confidence. Forecasts which are absurdly optimistic, which will make people think it's not serious. A lot of repetition, a lack of pictures, just a lot of heavy text. And the key messages that do not come across will be such the investor will not be interested. Who are my customers? What is my competitive advantage? These two questions have to be answered in a very clear, upfront way. Forecasts, if incorporated in the teaser, need to be credible. And this was done by using shorter forecast periods than any full business plan. 2-3 years might be fine. To focus on a few high-level indicators, sales, EBITDA, profit. Support the forecast with comments, arguments, or even third-party inputs from an objective third party, and the growth rate's rationale or argumentation should be clear and not to be an arbitrary percentage number. One of the key issues in any teaser is to balance structured sections with freestyle. The advantage of the structured section is that it forces the company to commit themselves to certain numbers or to some basic information which needs to be filled in and cannot be avoided because this is something that the expector will be expecting. And the freestyle section will allow the writer to express what they need to express in the way that they would like to do it, so to give their own narrative. So any teaser should combine elements of both. So how do we create an attractive but credible narrative? How do we balance the selling points with the hard information? Well, we can use a basic table giving a financial snapshot of the key indicators and trends of the hard information. We should give a sense of the company's direction. The competitive advantages of the company need to come through very clearly, and the basic contact and other information should be embedded in a subsidiary way. In this slide, we have a very good example of a simple snapshot of a company. And let's examine this teaser for a minute. We can notice that the basics are put in grey out of the way in a left-hand column, so they're all covered. The snapshot there then gives the picture of the company in 2 paragraphs, and its title is See a Snapshot. The competitive advantage are identified clearly and backed up in a summary form. The expansion strategy is articulated and its rationale is also articulated. And then the company's direction is shown, in this case, in a visual way, showing the expansion of the company and how the company will change. And the basic metrics is attached in a very user-friendly table with not an excessive amount of metrics attached. And this allows people to easily go through the table and get a sense of the company very quickly. What are some of the key ways we should present it, and what are the key mistakes? Firstly, superlative statements are not credible. Fantastic, winning. We should avoid these statements. Avoid cliches such as crossroads or between the east and west type rhetoric. Focus on the areas of tangible improvement the company has made. Progress in credits, corporate tax incentives, corporate governance, human capital. Look for high-profile examples of success in the last 2-3 years. The preparation of a teaser is also very conveniently linked to the process of sell-side due diligence. And the obvious first reason for this is that the teaser has to actually correspond to what the investor will discover later. And so the information on the teaser has to be accurate. And if this investor later discovers it isn't, that's surely going to stop any deal that may go ahead. So the teaser could be the result of a sell-side due diligence that would give the comfort that the numbers are going to be accurate, particularly the financial information. For an advisor to the company, this can be a good way to make sure that you can propose a dual service, both the teaser preparation and sell-side due diligence. And the sell-side due diligence can also help to prepare other non-financial aspects of the teaser, such as a SWOT analysis, perhaps. And the final thing to mention that is important is that it's possible that when you present a teaser to an investor, they may have some immediate follow-up questions for some follow-up information. And therefore, the second level information to back up the teaser should be available quickly, rather than having a situation where the investor asks for further information and it takes a long time to prepare. Question 1. What could be considered a weak investment teaser? Please select the relevant ones. A. Poor or incomplete financials. B. Too much information. C. Well designed but not too slick layout and graphics. D. Repetitive. We now consider our exercise, which consists of the readings of several real live teasers which have been prepared in the past. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply some of our knowledge and analyze these 5 different teasers and assess their strengths and weaknesses. As by way of introduction, we have an Armenian cosmetics company, a Romanian winery, a Serbian magazine company, a Romanian solar park, and a Central European-wide green energy company. Now, please read the teasers, and just by way of some initial comments, we can notice that the Armenian teaser, for example, is too dry and lacks financial detail, and is too heavy on the production and technical side and too light on the market and customer side. The Romanian winery is a well-written teaser. It's well balanced, but it's too long. At 14 pages, it's much too long to serve as an effective teaser. The Serbian magazine company is a well-made teaser from a graphics point of view, and it's not too long. It's only 1 page. It does cover all the main topics, but it could perhaps use a little bit more substance and detail, but generally it's a very good teaser. Romanian solar park is a poor teaser. It's too technical and lacks a real narrative to entice investors. And then the Pansy Green Energy Company is probably the best of them. It's only 1 page. It's quite dense. It's quite rich of information, but it gets to the essence. So please review the teasers and compare and contrast with what they looked with the discussion in this module. In this section, we're going to talk about how to create a 90-second elevator pitch. This is a slightly strange name, but it's something that's very widely held in developed markets, and the idea comes from the time it takes between floors to ride in an elevator. And from the point of view of a company or an advisor to a company looking to raise private equity, the 90-second elevator pitch is something that you must develop and rehearse in your head, because you never know in which context you could potentially deploy such an elevator pitch. For example, it could be that you have a formal meeting with a private equity fund and you want to set the stage, and the private equity fund manager says, well, just tell me in a nutshell what's it all about, and you deploy your private equity pitch of 90 seconds. It could be that you're in a conference and you, in the coffee break, will meet a private equity fund manager. And he says, tell me about what you do. You deploy your elevator pitch. You don't stumble, you have a clear story. It could be a casual setting, like a meeting in a chamber of commerce, a social gathering. So the 90-second elevator pitch you should think of as a tool that you develop in your mind and that you store away and that you take out at any opportunity in which you have a chance to make a proper contact with a potential investor in whatever setting that be, informal, formal, social, business gathering, with friends or otherwise. So that's the potential, the point of an elevator pitch. It's something you have ready and rehearsed. What is an elevator pitch? The elevator pitch is referred to as such because the idea is to be able to convey your business idea or pitch in the time it takes to get from one floor to the next in an elevator or a lift. An elevator pitch must be clear and comprehensive and should include your unique selling proposition or what makes you different. Please watch the attached video. How to begin, how to approach putting together an elevator pitch would include the following elements. The elevator pitch should be about what's in it for me, so the party listening to it should find something that's interesting for them in it. Focus on the benefits your business could provide them, so look for a problem they may have that you solve with your business. The problem you solve, it could be to help them save time, to save money, or to make more money. In those 60 to 90 seconds, you need to make it interesting, compelling, convey the benefits of doing business with you. So by having a pre-prepared pitch, which has been well rehearsed, you'll be at an advantage in situations where you need to convince somebody in a very limited amount of time. What are some of the typical mistakes that are made in elevator pitches? Firstly, you don't introduce yourself, so people are not sure who you are. You make the speech too long so that you're rushing through it, and that will tend to make people switch off. Avoid making the pitch about your business and its features. It needs to be focused on what it can do for the person listening. It's always important to include an example of what you have achieved or what you can achieve to make it more concrete. Avoid the mistake of including jargon. People are always switched off by jargon. And bear in mind that most elevator speeches are monologues delivered in the presence of a hostage. Don't make it that. Make it something fun and lively. There are 3 easy steps to help you develop an effective 90-second pitch. 1, identify what's unique about what you do. Secondly, try to use a question to create a two-way conversation or to identify a problem. And thirdly, keep it simple and straight to the point. You have time for details later. What is the technical methodology to create the pitch? Firstly, identify the opportunity that you want to transmit. Secondly, think about who the intended audience of your pitch is going to be, and you have to calibrate it according to their expectations, their cultural affinities. The key sections you need to include in a pitch is the opportunity or the problem to be solved, the solution, the new reality, and what the next step can be. So one thing to add in doing an elevator pitch is the fact that what's important, apart from the technical methodology to develop a 90-second pitch or a 60-second pitch, is that it's got to come together in a way that it sounds authentic and communicates some of the passion that the person pitching will do. It mustn't sound over-rehearsed. And so it's important that anyone developing an elevator pitch develop it at an early stage, rehearse it, and continue having it in their mind. Also because you never know in which situation you might deploy this pitch. It could be at the coffee break in a conference or at a casual social meeting. One of the big advantages of the advent of smartphones is the possibility for anybody to use the smartphone to practice the elevator pitch. And this is done very simply. You think of your pitch and you record yourself as a video selfie making your pitch, and this allows you, when you replay it, to analyze the weaknesses, and you can repeat the exercise as many times as necessary. And therefore technology allows anybody to develop pitches, and any advisor to a company should develop this technique and have expertise in it. And then once the pitch is of a sufficient quality or satisfaction, such pitches can actually be uploaded onto social media and used to promote the investment opportunity. Question 2. What are 3 steps in developing an elevator pitch? Please select the relevant ones. A. Identify what is unique about what you do. B. Including jargon in your elevator pitch. C. Use a question to create a two-way conversation. D. Keep it simple and straight to the point. Example, FinTech safety deposit boxes, 90-second elevator pitch concept. So finally, I would like to express my thanks to the World Bank for allowing me to share a version of the course that I developed with them and put it online on my website, on my LinkedIn profile. So thanks for that. Secondly, all the modules, this module and all further modules, will have a certain amount of case studies and additional materials attached to the module, which are part of the learning experience. These materials I will be posting on a specially created group that I have made in LinkedIn called Gavin Ryan PE Course. All you have to do is search Gavin Ryan PE Group, and the group will come up for you to join. You who are following this course, you'll be eligible to join my group and get these additional materials once you've connected to me on LinkedIn and once you've subscribed to my YouTube channel. So when I receive a request to join this group, I will check these two things and then I will admit you to the group. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope you've enjoyed this module, and I look forward to seeing you on the next module.